That was brilliant. Oh, I love it. We were just talking here about having babies and things, and not that I'm having one. I said to Rory, by the way, you're very welcome to the programme. And I just said, are you ever thinking of having one yourself? No, my brother did, so that's enough for the moment. No, that's not the same thing, really, Rory, you know. So, Rory Gallagher, welcome to the programme. We're live in London. Now, you played on Monday. We're coming up to the news shortly. We had 2 tracks from you there, by the way, and then we had one, I think, from the Fuzz Tones in the middle. I don't really know what's going on at the moment. So, you played on Monday night at the Irish Rock Week. You opened it because it was a special appearance by... Well, it says special appearance here. Was that a one-off? Like, you're not touring at the moment or anything, are you?
No, we're not, but we sort of had an outing agreement with Vince, the man who runs the club and so on, and we've always popped in there for the odd gig, so it's a great place to go just on a night off anyway, so we always felt like doing a gig there, but given the kind of the circuit we do, it doesn't always fall in, but this was an ideal kind of opportunity to set off this week, hopefully off to a good start, and as it turned out, it was grand, and we love playing smaller venues, but I've always tried to keep that sort of. In fact, I predict in future the Stadium Rock is on the wane, because
everybody's saying that, yeah.
Yeah, and about time too. Guns N' Roses can do it, U2 can do it, X, Y, and Z can do it, but it becomes like American football. It's meaningless. Whereas I'm not saying you should play in places that are tiny, but playing in decent establishments with a couple of nice bars, nice stage, decent lights, PA. You can jam, you can change your routine, the set. I'm all for that, to be honest with you. And I see the situation in Dublin, Belfast, Paris, London, New York. It's nearly almost like that now, where Keith Richards can play, say, the Beacon Theatre, which is a moderately sized hall or whatever. And like for instance, we played the Town and Country here. We might even do another club come theatre, dance hall gig. It still doesn't stop you from doing a so-called high-level gig, but what does that matter anymore, really? I think the sooner that high echelon of stratosphere stardom thing is dulled for a while anyway, I think it would be good, because it's frustrating for a lot of musicians, particularly musicians who still have elements of, trying to be sort of, rough and ready at the edges,
Yeah. Okay, listen, Rory, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get the news, we're going to play more music, we're going to talk to you again, especially about the gig as well. So we'll have the news after the break. Okay, we're live in London. We're here for the Ryanair Irish Rock Week, as it says in the piece of paper that we were just talking about there, Rory. In fact, Rory, you were sounding very nostalgic there while the news was on. We're talking to Rory Gallagher about things Irish and Ireland and that. Talking about roots, and I'm not talking about music here. Do you ever feel you'll sort of go back and retire in Cork or anything?
I imagine so, yeah, at some point. I'm not sure whether it'll be Cork or elsewhere, but it sounds very grandiose to say go back and open the studio, and I don't think I'll ever settle down, but there does come a point where you start saying, take this in the most modest way possible. You can't be just flying around, driving around forever and ever and ever and ever, because it just becomes because I wish I'd kept diaries over the years so I could remind myself, Tuesday I did this, Wednesday. I've had great times and great tours and so on, but from now on I'd like to, sort of log it a bit and see where I'm at. But but by the same token, you'd like to have the luxury, if you were at home, even for months on end, to get away now and then. Like everybody else, but you do. I still feel very rootless, audible, O-T,
right,
rootless, at the moment. But you do miss Ireland if you're away for X months. You start missing things that would be very corny to your ears now. Just hearing the news from me.
Yeah, you heard the word tarnish there and things like this. Oh God, it's great to hear this.
I get the paper. I get the I get the Sunday papers, and the maybe 2 or 3 daily papers during the week, so I'm not out of touch. But what would be cynical, and I suppose when you're away you get very nationalistic and you get less soft-hearted about issues and things. Whereas when you go home, then you start arguing like mad, like everybody else, and get which is healthy. But at a distance, you become very protective and.
Well, where is away now for Rory Gallagher? I mean, is away London all the time, except when you're on the road?
I suppose that. Well, I mean, we're based here and have been for a long, long time. But we spent such long tours on the continent and of 20-odd tours of America. So you just learn to live out of a suitcase. You learn to live as a kind of the gypsy existence and all the rest of it, which sounds glamorous. But eventually, it's and we've been to Australia, Japan, and all the so you really don't know. I really don't. You don't think from year to year. I'm not one of these great sort of planners. Like. My 5-year plan, 5 years from now I'll be living in Melbourne or I'll be living in Carsiveen or wherever, but you start getting worried. You start saying, I don't want to be living out on this edge forever and ever and ever,
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, like, you're always the one that will be looked upon from all the Irish musicians down through the last 20 years who will be doing it still when you're 60 and 70 in terms of getting up there with the guitar. I mean, B.B. King was in Dublin there again last week, and he's like, a hell of a lot older than Rory Gallagher, and he's still going on, and lots of them are, Well,
it's not down to age, it's down to commitment, but I mean, and James Brown was on television here last night, and I mean, it was frightening how hot he was, how great he was, and it wasn't just nostalgia. The same would apply to Muddy Waters, and I know I'm repeating these names and all that, but it doesn't have to be a marathon race. I mean, if you feel at the age of X that's enough, and you just want to, I mean, a lot of famous acoustic country blues players like Furry Lewis and Scrapper Blackwell, Mississippi John Hurt, had actually retired and hadn't been heard of until they were rediscovered by, anthologists or whatever they call them, in the 60s and 70s. So, I mean, it's not a case of, my dream is to be, like a cross between B.B. King, Eddie Cochran and Chuck Berry and a few other people, still vibrant and active at 65 and all that. But I mean, I've realised now that it's a bit... It's a bit mad, really,
hold on a second now. I mean, Eddie Cochran's dead. Chuck Berry has been cynical for the last 20 years, as far as I'm concerned, right? And I mean, he hasn't really been doing anything good at all, I don't think.
No, well...
And so, like, I mean, might have come a time when, like, you just not just dislike the road, not just dislike being away, but just don't get a kick out of it anymore. I mean, like, on Monday night now, I was in Dublin, so I didn't see the gig at the Mean Fiddler, but I mean, I heard it was a brilliant gig. I heard that, like, the crowd went completely mad, the place was completely stuffed, and you were just saying there that you love smaller gigs, and that's why you liked it. So.
It was great with for a start, the band was really on form. It was really, I was really coasting with them. It was great, without sounding corny. But I don't know. Maybe I'm analysing it too much, and that's a very bad. Raymond Chandler said that once. Once you start analysing what you do and get away from simplicity, you run into trouble, and it is true, It's not a case of being a simpleton, but you really have to work instinctively, and I mean, this is what the traditional musicians, be they in the west of Ireland or in Brittany or wherever, that's once you start. But you see, we're stuck, I'm stuck in a kind of a void where it's kind of borderline part of popular music, stroke, I'm still really a semi-purist, come folklorist, come whatever. So I'm trying to work all that out and still survive, through it. But with a bit of luck, I'll be able to cope with it. But plus, I'm trying. You see, I write material as well, and I take that probably more seriously than people sometimes think. They're not just vehicles for me, just like guitar numbers, but. And I think, particularly with the last album was really the Van Gogh album. It was the cutting off the ear job. So the next one is going to be will heal all that, and it's sounding good. We're rehearsing a lot of material for that, and I think once that's out of the way, and I'll feel I'll be onto such optimism, isn't it great? I'll be in good form then. Yeah.
Well, you call it the Van Gogh album. That's 1987's album, which is Defender, right? Now, could you go further and say it was your masterpiece in speaking of Van Gogh? Because, I mean, first of all, was it your most successful album of the 80s?
It was,
It was definitely the best received, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it put you back. I mean, last year, right, or at the end of 1989, in Sounds, or one of the magazines, the readers' poll had, obviously they have all the current bands in terms of, the best drummer, the cult, or the best keyboard players in the cult, or the best tea washers in the cult, whatever. But you were there as one of the best musicians, which you haven't been in those sort of polls for a while. So, I mean, it brought you back into the limelight quite a lot.
Yeah, which is great, but I mean, you see... it's very bad luck for me to start commenting on. I never believed in sort of Ronnie Delaney's the fastest guitarist in the world, and I'm saying, but it is a morale boost. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
You see your name in there with X, Y, and Z, and they weren't, as you say, they weren't all. You had Prince, you had guitar player with Guns N' Roses, you had drummers, you had a mixture. I suppose if you feel it and there's commitment there, I think it's gone beyond the point where it's just 10 or 15 years ago you had like the guitar polls. It was almost, I'm not saying it was all hype, but there was an element of who got more publicity than the other person. Now it's much more a case of it's not a case of who plays lead guitar or bongos or sitar or whatever. It's down to who's going that extra edge out into communication or testing themselves beyond the usual rock and roll terms,
Well, then what is the scene with the Rory Gallagher band at the moment? That was a bit of a one-off on Monday. Are you touring? Are you going to be going again, or what's happening?
Yeah, well, we have as much work out there lined up as we can take on. We've got Australia, Japan on offer, New Zealand. But the priority really is the next album. I want to get to follow up Defender, not as the son of Defender, but a very much an independent project. And but we will be doing some festivals on the continent, fairly major ones, and we're doing one festival behind the curtain, which is no longer a curtain, hopefully, in Estonia, in Tallinn, and we're doing some dates in Ireland, hopefully, and a few festivals here. But in terms of long, door-to-door tours, I think we'll leave that for the winter,
Yeah.
Because the next album really is really the priority from my point of view. Because even though we learned a lot, and we got a lot of good things done on Defender, it's not necessarily... I think we can better it yet, and we can get, we're going to use a lot of primitive recording techniques on the next album. But unfortunately, the engineers aren't in agreement with me, because most engineers naturally are state-of-the-art people, and that is the problem,
Yeah. You can find your own niche if you want to, Rory. Just kick him out, and do it yourself. You've done it before, sort of, haven't you? And let's face it.
Then you get a nasty reputation to say, God, this guy is a tough guy pushing people around. But it's not really like that. It's just naturally, I'm just hooked on, I like modern, inverted commas, music, but I'm totally into sounds from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whether it's the mics, the compressors, the limiters, the desks, whatever. So that's the seesaw I've got to work on.
So we are going to see an album from Rory Gallagher probably by when? By the end of the year, maybe?
Oh, definitely. By hook or by crook.
Yeah, because it's 2 years now, Rory. That's not very good. You've got to get the skates on.
I'm falling back in the.
Okay, well listen, Rory, we're sort of falling back on time a bit too now, because it's now 9:15, and in 15 minutes we're going to have the highlights of the Euro Rock thing, and I can see another band outside the door out there. So look, they're all waving. Look, wave, Rory, wave. That's Aslan. Hello, Aslan. Okay, I think maybe we'll play another track and then we'll come and talk to Aslan. So Rory, thanks very much indeed for dropping in to us live in London tonight. Okay, let's play some music.